coming to you in the lovely yet overcast Gulf Breeze, Florida today. We're just going to do a quick video on proper washing etiquette of cars. Now this applies to both coated and non-coated. I did a video recently in regard to rinseless washing. This is obviously a lot different. This is just your traditional old 2-bucket wash method with your grit guards, with your foam cannons, with your soap, all that fun stuff. To reiterate, car washes are a no-no. They are bad for your car. They will swirl your car, scratch your car. You're washing your car with your own dirt. They will damage any type of protectant on the surface, and they never really clean your car. So there really is no benefit to running your car through an automatic car wash. However, the traditional 2-bucket method is a great way to cleanse your car, prep your car for polishing, sealants, coatings, anything like that. So today is just basically a quick rundown to show you how to do it. Again, this is kind of for my clients. We have a lot of people who get cars coated. They want their cars to look and stay good, and this is basically step one in the process. So basically we will run through the setup and then we will demo washing and we will demo drying. So the first thing you need is you need 2 buckets. There's nothing fancy about these. These are buckets from Walmart, Lowe's, Target, any place that sells buckets. We are fancy and we have these casters on so they slide. That's just for when we're doing the car. You don't need them. So don't look at these and say, what the heck are those? Where do I buy them? They're just casters. You can buy them, but they're not required. So basically, like I said, our 2 5-gallon buckets. We like to fill them with about 2.5 to 3 gallons of water, maybe a little bit more. We also want to put some soap in there when we're doing it, but we'll get to that. Essentially what we have is a dirty bucket and we have a clean bucket. Both buckets are clean now. You can see the water is clean. Buckets are not the cleanest, but hey, it's all right. Basically what we want to do is put these lovely grit guards in, and if you've seen any of my other videos, these grit guards go in the bucket. They keep the dirt from getting mixed up when you're basically dunking and rinsing your mitt in. What you're also going to need is a good wash mitt. We have a G-Technique one here. This is the Dragon mitt, and we're just going to put that in the water because that's where it's eventually going to go. What you're also going to need is a foam cannon. So here we have just a standard foam cannon. This is something that you can purchase on Amazon. We also have them here at the shop. And obviously your shampoo or your soap, whatever you want to call it. We are not brand affiliated. We're not one-sided. We use a lot of different products. We'd like to test and trial. These are 3 that I typically stick with. We have 3D, SB3, and Tack System. All of these are just basic cleansers. They're just soaps. There's nothing, there's no wax, there's no sealant. Whenever you're really washing a car, you really want just a straight concentrated cleaner, and that's basically what all these are. So basically the process is within this foam cannon, it's roughly around 900 milliliters of total volume. You want to put somewhere between 100 and 150 milliliters of soap in. Now when you do something like the 3D Nano Drum, this is more concentrated. You're probably only going to need maybe a ½ ounce of this. So this is a little bit different. So we're not going to show that one. So although we use it, we're not using it today because it's a little bit different. That's another video. We just want just standard soaps, something that just has a basic concentration, still gets diluted but still works great. We'll use the SB3 since this bottle's kind of running low. Hopefully I can get the last of the soap out of this. I might have to put a little bit less water in, but all you're gonna do is basically pour your soap in here. As exciting as this is. We're not quite at 100, but when I put this in and kind of mix it up, it should give us a little bit more. So we're just gonna kind of swish this around and get more in there. But essentially, like I said, rule of thumb is you want somewhere around 100 milliliters, maybe 150. You're not gonna damage a car if you put more soap in. At worst case scenario, you're just gonna waste a little bit of product. That's why typically I say stay between 100 to 150 ml. I usually keep it around 100. So I'll just swish the rest of this soap up. That'll probably put us at close to about 80 milliliters of soap. And then we should be at probably around 800 milliliters. So we still have that 10-to-1 dilution, which is kind of what we're looking for. All right, so there's roughly 80 milliliter. I kind of had to get some of the soap out there. It's about 80 milliliters of soap in here, and then we're just gonna fill the rest up with water. And we should be somewhere around 800 milliliters of water and about 80. So we'll just kind of stop it there. A little bit more, but that's okay. screw that on, and essentially this gets attached to your pressure washer and it shoots the soap onto the car for cleansing purposes. So, lastly, what you need is a pressure washer. I'm not gonna show mine off, it's nothing fancy. For at-home use or shop or whatever, opinions may vary. We just use a basic 1700 PSI pressure washer. You don't need anything that etches concrete or takes badges off of cars. Anywhere between 1600 to 2200 is ideal. If you have something that is more PSI, I guess more power to you. Just be careful with it, because like I said, you can damage cars, take off badges, decals, things like that. So I like to stay safe. 1700 is more than enough pressure, more than enough power to clean the car. So basically, what we have is a 370Z that we're going to be washing today. I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way, and what we're going to do here is basically start the process. So we're going to get everything else finalized here, and then we're going to get to washing the car here shortly, so stay tuned. All right, so we are now outside, and we are getting ready to wash our car. A couple pointers and tips when washing a car. One, don't do it in direct sunlight. If you kind of look and see, we have a little bit of an overcast here. It's not sunny, the car's not hot. It's never a good idea to wash a car in direct sunlight. Reason being is when something soft gets hot, it hardens. When something hard gets hot, it softens. So if this surface here is hot, the car's been running, or it's in direct sunlight, understand the surface is going to be a little bit more fragile. So when you wash and when you dry, there's the potential for you to swirl it. So when it's cool, when it's in the shade, when it's just at an ambient temperature, that is less likely to happen. Of course, if you wash a car sloppily, if that's a word, you can swirl a car. So this method here will reduce that as much as possible. So basically, we've got our standard 1700 PSI. We've got a real long hose reel because ours goes all the way inside. But basically, the first step that you want to do in regards to treating the paint is basically just rinse the car down. So I'm just going to kind of demonstrate on this section of the car so you get an idea. When you wash a car, though, you always want to start with the roof. For demonstration purposes, I'm not going to. I'm just going to do the front here. But you always want to work from the top down, left to right, top to bottom. And that's basically what I'll demonstrate. So the first thing we're going to do is just rinse the car off, and what that's going to do is just knock off any loose debris, dust, dirt, sand, things like that, things that could potentially scratch your paint. So we're just going to do just a small section here just to kind of show you. Obviously, rinsing down a car isn't rocket science, so we're just going to show you that real quick. So it's rinsed, and now what we're going to do is foam the car. So we've got our 80-ish milliliters of soap and our 720 milliliters or so of water. And basically what we're going to do is just foam the car. Now what I like to do is put a little bit of foam in my clean bucket and a little bit in my dirty bucket. Just gives extra lubrication. So what we're going to do is just do a small section here and just spray the car down. Now, one thing I don't recommend doing, well, I guess you can do it. I don't like spraying the whole car down. Like if you're doing it outside and maybe it is a little bit warmer, I like kind of going section by section. What some people do like doing is foaming the whole car and then re-foaming it section by section, because as you can see, gravity will take over and the soap will kind of slide down the car. It's a good scenario, bad scenario. It could be pulling extra dirt off, making the surface cleaner, less likely to swirl, but you are going to use more product. So in all reality, it really just depends on, I guess, your technique. But again, you can see as it falls down, that's why we put some soap in the bucket. So again, what we're going to do is we're just going to rinse in the dirty, or I should say clean in the dirty, rinse in the clean. And what you want to do is basically go left to right, top to bottom, kind of overlapping your passes. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my mitt. It's just the weight of your hand gliding over it. I like to do about 4 passes. It gets kind of weird when you get on fenders, and usually there's a lot of dirt on fenders. So what I do is I kind of flip my mitt halfway through, and then just kind of clean that. Now when you go from the bottom, you never want to go back to the top. That's the dirtiest part of the car. So to reiterate, we did about 3 to 4 passes here. We flipped our mitt, and then did 3 to 4 passes here. When we got to the bottom, you can see the dirt that's on this mitt here. So what we're gonna do is just kind of dunk it in here. You push it into your grit guard. You squeeze it out, and then rinse it in the clean. So we'll get a better shot here on the hood. I'll just do a small section here. We just want kind of overlapping passes. And you'll do that basically over the whole car. So you can see there wasn't a lot of force. Washing a car the right way isn't a fast procedure. It can take time. A lot of time people don't like washing their car because it does take time, but to properly wash a car without damaging the paint, it should be something that you should take your time with. If you invest in a ceramic coating, you know, you're easily spending $1,000. That can be heavily damaged just in properly washing your car once. So this little method here, this traditional 2-bucket wash with the clean bucket and the dirty bucket is a nice way to minimize those swirls from coming and damaging the coating. So what we're gonna do here is finish washing this. We're gonna treat the wheels, clean the glass and everything. This car is actually gonna be getting polished and coated today. So we're gonna prep this, wash it, clay it, get everything going here. When we're done doing that, we're going to pull it in and we'll show you some tips and tricks on drying your car. So stay tuned. We're back. The suspense is now over. So we've done a very important step in the car cleansing process, which is wash the car. We did a 2-bucket hand wash. I did a little time lapse there to kind of give you an idea of process of doing wheels and everything else. So just some, I guess, tips and tricks for washing. You can use the car soap on your wheels, which we did, and you can also use the car soap on the glass. So we did all of that. We are actually already applied a rain repellent type sealant on the glass because we do include that when we do ceramic coating. So like I said, this car is getting prepped, so we did a couple more steps outside, which we didn't film, but now we're going to the drying process. So in all reality, drying is where the majority of swirls and scratches come from. You can still definitely swirl and scratch a car when you wash it improperly. However, when you're washing a car, you have soap, which is a lubricant. So it can actually, I guess, soften the blow of swirling. Most people make the mistake of washing a car or drying a car after they've washed it improperly by just using the wrong towel. There are 2 types of methods that we use here, and that is using air with either a compressor or a leaf blower, and obviously a towel. We use both to get the best results. A couple don'ts. Don't use a bath towel. Although they dry your body fantastically, they will scratch and swirl your car. And don't use chamois. So I'll kind of demo how chamois are used, and I'll also mention another product which I've never used. But a lot of times people take chamois, and basically what they are is they're made of animal hide, and what they do is they take them and they go like this, they slap them on the car, and then they pull them and they're like, oh, look how great it dries. Now there's other towels that are made of different types of fibers and things like that you can do that with, but with those they almost look like leather. They're called water chamois. Those are terrible. What happens is when they go on the paint, they kind of stick, and then when you pull them, that creates surface tension. So you can see when I do it with this towel, there's no noise, there's no surface tension, but with those chamois, because the material that they're made of, they'll drag across the surface, and if there's any sort of sand or dirt or anything in the towel or still on the surface, you're just gonna create straight scratches on the paint. So those are actually very bad to use. Another product which is terrible to use are called water blades, and they're basically a piece of rubber with a plastic handle, and you see people go like this. and all that does is scratch and spoil your paint. So you never want to use those. So basically what we do, if it was a ceramic coated car, we would go right to a leaf blower and a compressor. But typically what we're going to do with this car, because you can see it has no protection, is we're going to take our waffle towel, which this is a drying towel that we recommend. There's a lot of companies out there that make them. Auto Fiber's a big name. They make what's called the Dreadnought. It's a great drying towel, but really all you want to do is just the weight of your hand and just kind of absorb the water. You're not going to get all of it in the first try. That's why sometimes you kind of have to let it air dry and things like that. You can see this car's got a lot of water spots. Like I said, we do have to polish it and ceramic coat it. But when you're drying, you just kind of want to just use the weight of your hand just to dry the car. You know, a ceramic coated car is going to be a lot easier, but you know, just kind of drag the towel over the surface. You don't want to put any sort of pressure on the towel. Pushing hard, or you know, doing, I see people do this or they go like that and put their weight on, that's not going to dry the car any quicker. What that will do is scratch the car. And posture is very important. When you wash and dry a car, you should typically have your posture about shoulder width apart and just kind of massage your hand over the surface like this. The second you change your posture and put your strong foot forward, whether you're right-footed or left-footed, when you change your posture, you're immediately putting more weight on your hand, which you don't want to do. When you're shoulder width apart and you have equal stability, there's no excessive weight being put on the wash mitt or the towel. So it's very important. So you never really want to go like this, because again, just try it at home. Put your hand like this and then put your hand like this. Immediately you're supporting all of your weight with this hand and this leg. So all of your weight gets shifted. Whereas if you're just standing like this, it's just equal weight. It's not as aggressive. And you can see, so I've kind of just worked this little area and it's drying, and it will dry better. Now, like I said, with a ceramic coated car, you can use air. And we'll just use a compressor for demonstration. And basically what you can do is kind of start at the top and work your way down. I'll demo on the glass because the glass has just a basic protectant on it, it'll bead. But when you have a ceramic coated car, it just kind of flies off. So that would do the same thing on the paint. It will be very hard to get it as effective and efficient with a non-coated car. Essentially what you'll do is kind of push all the water down and still have to go over it with a towel. So it's really apples to oranges. If you prefer, you know, kind of blasting the whole car down with air first and then drying with a towel, some people do that. If you're doing it outside, you could get into water spotting and things like that. Obviously, we're indoors. We're gonna polish this car. If it does get temporary water spots, it doesn't matter. We're gonna get rid of them. Time is of the essence when you are washing a car. So you wanna move quickly, but you don't wanna move too quickly. So whether you like or you like to dry with a towel, you know, either way. Some people like to do both. You could do a double-hander, go through and dry it, and I've never done that, but I guess you could. So those are just some tips and tricks to properly wash your car and help keeping it look like new for years and years to come. As I've stated before, swirls are inevitable. They can and will happen, but if you follow this process, the 2-bucket hand wash, drying with a safe towel, something that's soft, that's made to absorb water, you know, not a drying towel that you would use in your bathroom, or a water chamois, a water blade. Those are all things that you don't want to use. They're just going to mess up your paint. A nice water magnet towel, something like this would be great. And again, using some compressed air or a leaf blower is also a great option. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you. Please like and subscribe and leave any comments below if there's anything you missed out or think we should do this video again or touch up on anything. Please let us know, and happy detailing.